Good afternoon, friends. Important clarification by CBIC, White Circular number 194, dated 17th July 2023. It is clarification regarding who will collect tax at source, tax collected at source, when there are multiple e-commerce operator in a single transaction. So who is going to do that? As a background, you know that any e-commerce operator in general parlance, trade parlance, customer is coming to the website of e-commerce operator. Let's take an example, Amazon, Flipkart. They are coming on the platform, e-commerce operator, purchasing goods and making the payment to this e-commerce operator. What this e-commerce operator does, it is also connected with the supplier. So order placed by the customer goes back to the concerned supplier, which is also on this particular platform. So money collected by this e-commerce operator, then this e-commerce operator required to deduct that tax collected at source under section 52 of CGST Act. And then he need to pass on the money, the balance money after deducting his service charges to the concerned supplier, who in turn directly supplying to the customer. That is how the transaction all about, right? So TCS compliances are being undertaken by this e-commerce operator under section 52 of CGST Act. But there may be a different situation in a single transaction. There may be multiple e-commerce operator. Then who will do TCS compliances? Who need to deduct TCS? Now, in this given situation, let's say there's one e-commerce operator who is only providing interface to the buyer. So buyer is coming to this website of one e-commerce operator, but he's not having a supplier. Again, he is having a connection with other e-commerce operator, and that may be the supplier. So there are multiple e-commerce operator in single transaction. So buyer is placing an order through one e-commerce operator, but that is being executed by second, third, fourth. That may be the case. Supplier e-commerce operator. So in that case, who is supposed to do the compliances, TCS compliances under section 52 of CGST Act? Let me share the relevant circular and then we will discuss so that we get a clarity pertaining to this TCS compliances by who is going to undertake. Which e-commerce operator? Let me first open that circular. If you look at this circular, circular number 194, dated 17th July 2023, what it is stating, para 2.1. In current platform, I've explained, but again, I'm reading for easy digest for my all viewers. In current platform centric model of e-commerce, maybe Amazon or Flipkart, the buyer interface. So this is the e-commerce operator, Amazon or Flipkart. Buyer interface and seller interface are operated by same e-commerce operator. So you understood it. Buyer is also coming here and selecting the product and services of the supplier which is available on the same electronic platform e-commerce operator. The ECO collects that consideration from the buyer, deduct TCS under section 52 of CGST Act, credit that deducted TCS amount to the e-cash ledger of that supplier, Supplier can use that money with his outward tax liability. In case he is getting accumulation, the supplier, he can go for refund also. That provision is also existing. So this is the very simplest model which is available. So deducted TCS amount to the GST e-cash ledger of the seller, supplier, passes on the balance consideration to the seller after deducting their service charges. So bear in mind that service charges invoice raised by e-commerce operator to the supplier, to the seller, is subject to GST liability at the rate of 18%. So this part is not given in the circular, but explaining to all of you. What is the next model? So differently colored so that you can identify two different situations. In case of ONDC, what is the ONDC means? Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. In case of ONDC network or similar other arrangement, there can be multiple e-commerce operator in a single transaction. So one is providing interface to the buyer. So first e-commerce operator is giving interface only to the buyer, and the other providing interface to the seller, supplier. So the other e-commerce operator is giving interface to the supplier and seller. So there are multiple e-commerce operators. In this setup, buyer side e-commerce operator, quite obvious, will collect the consideration, deduct their commission also, and pass on the consideration to the seller side e-commerce operator. Quite obvious. In this context, clarity has been sought as to which e-commerce operator, whether it is buyer side e-commerce operator or supplier seller side e-commerce operators, should deduct TCS and make other compliances under section 52 of CGST Act in such a situation. So there are two examples they have drawn, and these examples are clarifying the position which you can check and understand for your easy digest. Situation number one, where multiple e-commerce operators are involved in a single transaction of supply of goods or services, or both, through e-commerce platform, where supplier side e-commerce operator himself is not the supplier in said supply. So this line is very, very important, where supplier side e-commerce operator is not the supplier in said supply. Who is liable for the compliances under section 52, including collection of TCS? Look at the drawing example. The buyer interface is done by, let's say, e-commerce operator 1. But supplier side interface is being done by other e-commerce operator. And it is connected with the suppliers. Quite obvious, buyer will give the payment to the buyer side e-commerce operator. This buyer side e-commerce operator will deduct his consideration and give it back to supplier side e-commerce operator. And then in turn, supplier side e-commerce operator will make the payment to the supplier. Quite obvious and logical. In this case, this supplier side e-commerce operator need to deduct TCS under section 52. And that deducted TCS will get credited in e-cash ledger of the supplier, which is available for adjustment with its outward tax liability, or available for refund also in case he's not having enough liability. And that is what it is being explained in these two paragraphs. Let's read it so that clarity exists. In such a situation, where multiple e-commerce operators are involved in a single transaction of supply of goods or services or both, through e-commerce operator platform, where supplier-side e-commerce operator platform himself is not the supplier. Because here supplier is a different party. Compliances under section 52, including collection of TCS, is to be done by supplier side e-commerce operator, because ultimately he's releasing consideration to the supplier, who finally releases payment to the supplier for a particular supply made by said supplier through him. So buyer-side e-commerce operator, as I explained to you, again, I'm reading it out for your easy understanding. Buyer-side e-commerce operator will collect the payment from buyer, no doubt, deduct its fees and commission, will write and remit the balance to the seller-side e-commerce operator. I hope this part is clear. And for understanding's sake, let's look at this way, that the buyer side is collecting 100 rupees. Let's say 10% his charges, then 90 rupees he's going to remit to supplier side e-commerce operator. And then supplier side e-commerce operator remitting 80 rupees to the concerned supplier. So of course, TCS compliances to be undertaken by supplier side e-commerce operator. That is how it is to be. And read further. So here the seller side e-commerce operator will release the payment to supplier after deduction of its fees, and therefore will also be required to collect TCS as per section 52, also make other compliances like return filing under section 52 of CGST Act. In this case, buyer side e-commerce operator will neither required to collect TCS nor will be required to make other compliances under section 52 of CGST Act. So this part, I'm sure it's clear to all of you. Come to the second situation. In this case, supplier side e-commerce operator himself is the supplier. And that is what they are saying, that supplier side e-commerce operator is himself the supplier of said supply. Then who is supposed to follow the compliances TCS under section 52? In such a situation, TCS is to be collected by the buyer side, because ultimately he's remitting money to the supplier e-commerce operator who himself is a supplier. In that case, all TCS compliances will fall back on buyer side e-commerce operator. So buyer side e-commerce operator collect payment from buyer, deduct its fees, remit the balance to the supplier who is itself an e-commerce operator. As per definition under section 2 subsection 45. In this scenario, buyer side e-commerce operator will also be required to collect TCS as applicable and pay the same to the government in accordance with the section 52 and other compliances. So this circular, it's clarifying a position for TCS compliances in a single transaction where multiple e-commerce operators are involved. So we have tried our best to clarify all the points which is being issued from circular number 192 to 199. Hope you're liking this video digest of the circular. Stay tuned. If you're liking those videos, you can always share with your professional colleagues, friends, and everyone, so that we can get better visibility and we all can try to make GST good and simple tax. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.